Hi, welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. As it's now 2015, I'm going to do a what's in my camera bag, and I think back to the very first video I ever did on YouTube on, I was called G-Spot then, but that didn't quite work, was a what's in my camera bag. And it's interesting to look back at how my equipment has changed and the way I'm shooting and the stuff I have. And when I've looked back through some of my camera gear, some of the best systems I've had have been the most simplest. I mean, I think if I was advising someone now and they definitely wanted a digital SLR like a Nikon or something, a great system would be a D7000 with a 70-200 and an 18-70. That system I had covered everything I ever needed to do and was a fantastic system. I was, got some really good pictures with that sort of gear. But I've moved on, I've downsized, and I'm loving even more not just the pictures but the experience of shooting now and being able to carry around such a small amount of equipment. So this is a what's in my camera bags, because I have two bags, and a big one and a small one, but the big one's only small anyway, and it's easy to carry around all day long. So we'll start off with that. And there is one lens which I will switch between the two as well, but we'll go into that. Top of the bag, there's just a little bit there which has got a little strap and a torch in, nothing of any real sort of interest, to be honest. Then there's a little pocket at the front where I just keep like close-up lenses, spare batteries, cloths and stuff like that, just the usual stuff. Both of my bags have got space in the back for an iPad mini. That's in this one, it slops up there in the back. This one, it's got a section where iPad mini fits perfectly in there, so that's a really nice feature on both of these. So let's get into the main part of the bag. This is a Low Pro Slingshot 100 AW, by the way. Lovely little bag, cheap as chips. You get them second hand. I've paid £7 for this one. Got your little flap there, which I've just got spare SD cards. And then in your main section, which I'll just tip up like that, I'll try not to tip everything out. I've got my GH4, and I generally have it, when I have it in the bag, depending on what I'm doing, but as a rule, I generally have, believe it or not, the 35-100 lens. It's the Lumix 2.8. So I generally have that lens fitted to the body, because it's the lens I use the most. That's the only reason for that. So that's the GH4 with the 70-200 2.8 Pro lens. And then I've got the 12-35 2.8 Pro lens as well. Now there's space in here for one other lens, which is the little, just grab it, it's on my other camera, but it's the 45 1.8 would go there. Usually if I took this out, if I was planning on doing any low light stuff, I'd take the 45 1.8 with me as well. So that's the kit. There is room in here for one other lens, which I'm toying with the idea of, and I will get it at some point, I know I will, but it's not a lens I really want or need. It's the 7-14mm wide angle lens. So I will get that at some point, and there's plenty of room in this bag for that, and that's it. So fairly, straightforward package, but the key here, and I can't stress this enough when you're looking at getting the system, the key is the lenses, getting the right lenses for what you do, the right focal lengths, and then go for good quality ones. I mean, the kit lenses are okay and they do a job certain ways, but you only really start progressing in your photography and getting those really nice pictures when you start getting into 2.8 lenses and really good, fast, good quality glass. You'll find your images are better saturated, you get better contrast, you better sharpness all throughout the range and across the screen. It's just better all round, better quality. This is all weather sealed, so I can take this out in the rain, no problem with that camera or those lenses, which is great. So that's my main bag that I would take out. Then if I want to downsize and take an even smaller bag out with me, and weight wise, to be honest, if anything, that's probably a bit lighter, but there's not a lot in it weight wise. I've got this little, it's actually an Olympus pen bag, but it's just a lovely little bag. A couple of pockets on the sides which you can put spare batteries in, bits and bobs. There's a little bit at the front there which you can put documents or cleaning cloths zipped up. There's the bit at the back that I showed you, which has the, that's where my iPad goes. You unflap it. This is a zipped one, but I generally have it unzipped because that does tuck in there, okay. So camera-wise, we've got now the Panasonic Lumix GX7, and that's generally the lens that will be on this, which is the 45-1.8, unless I've put that in the other bag. So this is the lens that tends to swap between the two bags, but that's the GX7 Lumix, and that's a lovely camera, and matches the GH4, you know, beautifully in controls, image quality, image style. You know, I can set the cameras up pretty much the same, so I can mix and match really well. Then I've got my telephoto zoom for this is the Panasonic X lens, which is the 45-175. Really high quality optics in this, but for very little weight, and it fits on there on the GX7 perfectly. So that's my telephoto. Then for video on this, and this is the only reason I've kept this lens, and that is for video because of the image stabilization that's built into this, because when you switch the GX7 to video, the in-body stabilization turns off for some very strange reason. I don't know why. So the only reason I'm keeping this lens is for video on here. I wouldn't use this for photographs, to be honest. It's okay, it is what it is, but you know, it's cost, you probably pick one up for, I don't know, less than 100 quid, I don't know, but they're cheapest chips, don't weigh anything, so it doesn't matter that it's in the bag. It's just a handy thing to have if I want stabilised video while I'm out and about. I just bung that on and away you go. I mean, if they do a firmware update, or they, you know, the next incarnation has the ability to do the video with stabilisation on these prime lenses without it, then I would have no need for that, to be honest. So I'd get rid of it, but for now it's fine. And then down here I have my wider angle. I'm not a particularly wide angle shooter. I tend to gravitate to telephoto, but this is my sort of wide angle one. It's a lovely lens. It's the Sigma Art lens, and it's the 19mm 2.8. So effectively we've got a 38mm, a 90mm, 90 to 350, and then you've got the sort of the 28 to 84 standard on there. So if I really wanted a wider angle than that, I could always bung that on and use it, you know, in an emergency. But that Sigma lens, I know it's a 2.8 not a 1.8, and I would prefer the Olympus 17mm 1.8, which I'll probably get at some point. But for what I paid for this, less than 100 quid, it's a fantastic lens, beautiful quality. The only downside is it is only a 2.8, and it would have been nice if it was a 1.8. And that's it. So there you go, that's my What's in My Camera Bag 2015. If anybody's thinking about doing this downsize from full frame or from crop to mirrorless or micro four thirds particularly, which is what I've got here, then the downsides, which is this stuff is not great for sports photography. The mirrorless cameras yet are not great on tracking focus and fast moving subjects. They're certainly not as good as like my D7000 or my D610 was in the Nikons. So if you're a sports shooter, you're not going to be interested in this kind of stuff, not yet anyway. If you're just a general photographer, you're what I'd call an advanced amateur photographer, you're really pushing on, but you like to have your equipment everywhere you go, and you don't want the bulk of a big digital SLR, then don't worry about going to micro four thirds. I know some people say the image quality is not there, but you know, when I'm looking at my photos, and I've got some printed off canvases, and our canvases range from this sort of A4 size 10x8s to sort of, you know, this size, so we've got lots of different canvases, and if I just quickly glance around, I can't really tell the difference. I mean, we've just printed one which was from a Canon D30, not a 30D, a D30, which I believe was something like a 3 megapixel digital SLR camera, and it's printed fine. So, you know, when you're talking 16 megapixels as opposed to 24 or 30 megapixels or whatever, it doesn't really matter. The image quality on these sort of things is so good now that for me, anyway, it's not an issue. If you was doing professional blown up prints, then maybe not, I don't know, but I've not had any situation at all where I've looked at my pictures and thought, no, I wish I still had my crop sensor, or I still had my full frame sensor. I do sometimes miss the ability to blow out the background, and you know, that is governed by the size of your sensor. So these micro four third sensors, it's not as easy to do, but you can do it. You can either use fast apertures, long telephotos, get close to your subject, move your subject further away from the background. There's lots of things you can do to get around it. It's not a major issue, but sometimes that does sort of creep into my mind, but then it very quickly goes away when I feel the weight of my system, and also the fact that I'm definitely getting more of my photos in focus, because there's that little bit more leeway in the depth of field. I am definitely getting, especially when I go and do like a zoo shoot, where I generally test my cameras and lenses at a zoo because it's a great way to do it. I'm definitely getting a higher percentage of in focus shots with these cameras than I did with like the D7000, the D5100, the D610 that I had, and all that. So there you go. I hope this has been of interest. If you've got any questions about downsizing to micro four thirds or anything like that, and you want to ask me some questions, or if you disagree with what I've said, then by all means put comments, like, subscribe. If you want to see my photos, then you can just jump onto Flickr and just type in GRVOTV, and you'll find me on Flickr, and you can look at my high-res JPEGs on there. So this is GRVOTV with my 2015 What's in My Camera Bag. Looking forward to another year. And you never know, perhaps 2016 What's in My Camera Bag will be pretty much the same as this, but let's face it, it won't be. See you soon. Bye.